Mayor, we are now live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Call to order a meeting for the Normal Town Council for Monday, August 3rd, 2020. Please call the roll.
Mayor Coos,
Here.
Mr. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Cummings,
Here.
Mr. Nord,
Here.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Here.
Mr. Preston.
Here.
We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The governor has issued a disaster declaration related to the public health concerns caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. As mayor, I've determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the risk of exposure to the COVID-19 virus stemming from indoor gathering, and that the remote meeting is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the council staff and the general public. Ms. Hawker, do we have a public comment tonight?
We do not.
Thank you. We move to the omnibus agenda. Items that will be taken with one vote unless a council member would like to pull an item for discussion.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting July 20th, 2020, and a report to receive and file town of Normal expenditures for payment as of July 29th, 2020. We have a motion and approval. Please call the roll.
Mr. McCarthy,
Roll.
My hand's up.
Aye. Mr. Nord?
Yes, my hand was up.
I'm sorry.
Item C, I wanted to pull.
Thank you. Since I didn't read that off yet, go ahead and please call the roll.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mayor Coos.
Aye. Item C is a motion rejecting a proposal for bike share services. Mr. Nord?
I so move.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Nord?
My understanding of this is a contract that ended back in January and the company went bankrupt, all the equipment's been removed, and we did an attempt to try and find a replacement back then. Now it's 8 months later, and we're being asked to reject a proposal. My question is, why is this before council for us to reject something that's already been eliminated?
Sorry, I almost forgot to unmute myself. Well, I think the timing is that we published the request for proposals in April. Staff and a committee representative with representatives from Illinois State and Carl Roman participated in the review of the proposal. We received only one proposal. That was Gotcha, which is a different provider than the previous agreement. The group you referenced, Mr. Nord, is Zagster. Zagster was the vendor for the first 3 years that we had a bike share program. So we're basically asking council to officially reject this because we don't believe this is the proposal that we should move forward on. So that's why we're asking council action. It has nothing to do with timing of their proposal or timing to provide services. Our request for council to reject this is based upon the cost associated with it. And then we feel like if we wait a little bit longer, we can maybe craft a different proposal, modify it somehow, and present an opportunity in the future for multiple vendors to try to submit a proposal.
Okay, so is this more just a formality to say that this isn't something staff wants to go forward with?
Well,
Because it seems like in the past, we're typically asked to approve things, but this is we're being asked to reject something that's, you know, the service has been canceled long ago before the RFP even went out. And that's more of my question, is just a process as to why is this before us
Mr.
if
North,
nobody wants it?
it's not a staff decision, it's a council decision. Staff has sent that to the council. And you're correct, we don't often have this happen, but there are times in the past, many times in the past that I can think of where we've rejected a proposal. We get it on record.
and I could add in this particular proposal, and I've got Ms. Davison and Mr. Damry on the call if needed, but in this particular proposal, Gotcha responded indicating that they recommended they would start their service in spring of 21. So there wasn't going to be a bike share program in 2020, just to be clear, because Zagster expired and Gotcha's proposing to start in 2021. So I'm not sure the relevance between Zagster, our agreement with Zagster expired. So we sought a proposal from various vendors. Zagster did not respond. They have since filed bankruptcy, and Gotcha happens to be the only one who did respond.
Okay, so then it is your intention to look for another vendor here in the future that's got better pricing. Am I understanding that this is still a council initiative?
Well, council can tell me if it's not an initiative, certainly, because we believe the bike share program provided value. So if council doesn't want to pursue a bike share program in the future, we won't. But
Okay.
we won't know if there are other providers unless we try it again in the future and see if others respond.
Okay, then that answers my question as to why. So thank you.
Mr. McCarthy?
Sure, thanks. First, thanks for staff for working with our new hospital partners. Carl, who's been a supporter of the bike share program and a financial contributor, as well as ISU. We know that I believe numbers had continued to grow through the program, but I agree that the numbers that was in the council report aren't palatable for what we were hoping for. I'm glad to hear that you guys are continue to try to reshape this program to see if there's viable betters for us in the future. I think, as a straight up tourism and marketing opportunity for our community, the assets of the Constitution Trail, uptown connection to downtown Bloomington and directly to our businesses by people who come here and don't have bikes, don't have cars, maybe they're here on business to give them a cheap, easy to access mobility option that hopefully gets them access to some of our local businesses, I think is a good idea. So I'm hopeful for the future that we'll be able to attract somebody who can in fact put on a program that's in a more reasonable price range for us. So thanks for the efforts, and I'm looking forward to the future of it.
Mr. McCarthy, would you put your hand down, please? Mr. Preston.
Thanks, Mayor. Question for staff. Do we have a feel as to why there was only one response when staff did reach out to all or a number of different vendors, and why they came in so much higher than what we had experienced with Zagster in the last contract? I mean, I think it was like 3.5 times. That's quite a spread.
Mm-hmm. I will defer to Ms. Davison and Mr. Damry.
If I could make a comment here prior to that, though, if you look at the proposal, there are almost 2.5 times the number of bikes involved in this project. The companies, my experience in the industry, companies have different standards and protocols that they have for programs. Zagster was a company that really went to small markets. That was kind of their niche, and it didn't work. obviously, or something internally that didn't work for them. And you've got to realize that COVID-19 is definitely got these companies being very careful and very cautious going forward, because they know nobody's going to be doing any bike share in the near future. Sorry, Ms. Davison, did you have further?
Well, you covered the part about the cost being higher based on the number of bikes. I will say that COVID has had a huge impact on this industry, in part because it's very hard to get the actual bicycles. There's a huge manufacturing issue, I think, out of China. So a lot of companies were having trouble deploying bikes. The other thing that's disrupted this industry has been e-scooters and different investment strategies in that end of the market, which is not something we were looking for. But a lot of these companies are reevaluating their business model. So I think we're kind of catching the industry in a point of some flux. So that I think that explains why we didn't get many responses this time, because we did reach out to a lot of companies.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Mr. Nord?
No, he's muted. Mr. Nord, you're muted.
Thank you. Since we brought up a little bit of history of this contract, Ms. Reese had emailed me the actual numbers. So the numbers had declined. They started up at 3,189 riders in 2017 when it first started. Then it increased about 150. And then now it's down to 2,280 as of 2019. I believe that's the end of 2019, since the contract was up in January. So it was before COVID. When this was first presented to the council, it was going to be $261,000 over 3 years. And it was estimated that we would recoup $16,920 a year from the rentals. Throughout that 3-year term, we've only recouped $12,000, $12,981. So we didn't even so Normal did not even recoup 1 year's estimate over the entire 3-year contract. And if you divide out the number of rides that the service provided, it cost, well, it was $1.47 per ride. So there were a lot of free rides that were in there as well. And, I just hope going forward that whatever solution we look at, that we try and recoup more of those costs back, because this was an expensive program for the taxpayers.
Mr. North, I'm not sure if your number from 2016 or your council report where you're coming up with that, or maybe we put it in our report, that $200 and some thousand amount that you said we intended to recoup. I don't know if that number includes the advocate contribution. Advocate contributed $30,000 as well. So Ms. Davison might be able to further dig into those numbers if that's what council's interested in this evening. That's more about the Zagster program, and this conversation is more tied to what we're looking for in a program moving forward. I think in regard to the GOTCHA proposal, where staff is still recommending that council reject it.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on what Ms. Reese said. I'm not sure how germane, looking back at cost of a foregone proposal, but also to mention that if council feels like a report out on numbers is important, I'd rather get from professional staff who have all the numbers, because the numbers I just heard I don't think are accurate, because it certainly didn't take into account the Roman at that time, the advocate numbers at that time. So, but I don't know why that's germane to this discussion about GOTCHA personally. So I'm in favor of rejecting the proposal.
Ms. Smith?
To avoid confusion that may have occurred at a prior meeting, so if we vote aye on this, are we in fact rejecting the contract?
Yes.
Point of order. So, okay.
Yes, If I could explain, I put this on, this was added to the omnibus vote agenda, which generally council approves in the affirmative. So we made this particular item in the negative simply because it was on omnibus vote. So one vote would have then automatically rejected this.
Further on this item? Please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye. That concludes our business tonight. We have no general orders or new business. Before taking the motion for adjournment, do we have concerns or comments? And we do. Ms. Smith?
Yes, thank you. I want to take this opportunity to address some of the information swirling around the One Normal Plaza PUD update, because a number of citizens have reached out to me, and I believe they're copying other council members with their questions, but I'm seeing some common themes, and I think it might be more productive if I were provided this opportunity to clarify some information and hopefully dispel some of the misconceptions that seem to be common in these conversations that residents are sharing with me. I do plan to respond individually to all those who have provided their contact information. And I am happy to see residents active in the discussion around this, but I think there are some areas that should be clarified. First of all, the council voted to authorize the review and update in May. But in fact, the effort to tackle this update can be traced back to our retreat in 2019. In that retreat, over a period of several days, all members of the council and the mayor met to consider the town's comprehensive plan. And the objective of that retreat was to focus on areas of agreement and set policy priorities for the upcoming year, and, as is common for the town of Normal, to look also at a 5-year window. Now, several areas of consensus that specifically pertain to the One Normal Plaza is an understanding that, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is in the goals and priorities that Lyle Summick has created in a booklet for us. But first of all, to promote a strong and diverse local economy, which encourages the entrepreneurial spirit and enhances Normal's reputation as a business-friendly community. Another area of agreement was that we would encourage great neighborhoods where residents have easy access to businesses and services. After council identified these strategic priorities, the operational pursuit of these principles was delegated to management to specifically update the One Normal Plaza PUD, which is at this time roughly 30 years old. I believe that a query from a developer who expressed an interest in locating a microbrewery in One Normal Plaza acted as the catalyst to move this item into something that became an operational action item in the current year. It's my understanding that as this individual contacted town staff with their questions and also queried One Normal Plaza residents and business owners in that area, that word of this microbrewery and the potential of locating an establishment that would sell liquor caused great consternation among the residents. I want to emphasize that at this time, that original developer has abandoned his plans for the One Normal Plaza microbrewery as being inconsistent with the way he wants to operate a microbrewery. So at this time, there is nothing in the works from that developer to locate a microbrewery in One Normal Plaza. However, regardless of that developer's decision, this only brought to light a real need to clarify what is the desire for the development of One Normal Plaza. This is a very unique property. It has residences, it has businesses, it has park area, it has historical buildings. And so in an effort to going forward for any other business person, any other entrepreneur who might be interested in this space, to provide them a framework for what would be appropriate in this location, the PUD process is designed to clarify what we are seeing as appropriate development for that space. Some highlights of the proposal that is under discussion is that One Normal Plaza would be divided into 4 areas with land uses tailored to each. Sub-area 1 is the residential area north of Oglesby, where the historic boys' dorms are located. This area is proposed to have land uses similar to R1 zoning throughout that community. Sub-area 2 is the area inside the Oglesby Lincoln Loop Road. Sub-area 3 encompasses the Baby Fold and Y dorms properties, and sub-area 4 is the Normandy Village complex and surrounding town-owned park properties. The proposed code includes varying types of commercial uses in sub-areas 2, 3, and 4, because again, sub-area 1 is seen as retaining an R1 category. Providing for certain types of businesses, another thing that would be new would be providing for certain types of businesses to operate in freestanding buildings within sub-areas 2, 3, and 4 without the current restriction of being located within an office building. And actually, because several people are concerned about the loss of the green space, there is a call in this update to preserve not 15% as the current PUD dictates, but increasing that from anywhere from 50 to 60% in sub areas 2, 3, and 4. Now, when I respond to emails, I have a link I can share for any citizens who wants to look at what the green spaces are and which ones are the town-owned property. I want to move on, though, to talk about process, because I think this is where there has been some confusion. I want to be clear. This PUD update is a council policy decision that has been delegated to the staff to carry out the operational side of it. However, the council, while we initiated this, the actions must first flow through the planning commission to start the formal review process. So the planning commission actually opened the public hearing in June after our May meeting. That public hearing had to be held remotely because of concerns over COVID-19. However, they have not closed their discussions of this. The public hearing is continued until at least at this point, September. It continues to be pushed back from June to July, and now into December is the latest date. This was done to ensure that everybody who wants to has an opportunity to participate in the process. The planning commission is where people should go to present their concerns. The commission's job is to receive and review information from everyone interested in the matter. It is important for all interested parties to recognize that process provides for public notice, provides for open discussion, and provides the opportunity for people to go on record with what their concerns are. And so while there may be a number of community members that have been meeting in their neighborhoods concerning this discussion, in order to have an impact on the planning commission process, you must be part of that hearing before the planning commission. And again, that agenda item is now on the September meeting. And I had this discussion with a local resident who I spoke with her earlier in the summer and was basically saying, hold your fire, save your ammunition for when it counts. And so while I at the same time encouraged her to reach out to council members to share her concerns and to invite other council members to be involved in this. However, it's important to respect the chain of command. The planning commission makes the decision after their review, and that decision is forwarded to the council for a vote. And so while that process has to be respected, this is after legal consultation. We have a town attorney. If we're paying him good money for his legal opinion, I think we should trust that he knows what he's talking about when he cautions us about avoiding violations of the Open Meeting Act, because this is an issue that pertains to a matter that will be coming before another body that will be presenting a vote, an agenda item to us. And so only after the planning commission completes its review of that revised PUD and votes on it, will that then come before our full council for a vote. Until that happens, there is nothing for us to consider, and we cannot short circuit the process. And we must have this opportunity for all voices to be heard throughout the community and not exclusively for the residents neighboring this property. Zoning matters can be very difficult. It certainly can ruffle a lot of feathers, but I'm hoping everybody understands the need to have a process that is open to the public, that is on record, and has the ability for people to hear and participate in that process and go on record with your concerns before the vote is taken. But much as a jury cannot consider facts that they read in a newspaper, the planning commission is limited to what is on record to them before their meeting. So for anyone who has an interest in this PUD update, I encourage you to educate yourself about what is involved. There are links on the Town of Normal site in emails. I'll provide those links to you. But again, I need to distance myself from giving an opinion about this until it comes before the council. And I did my best to check the facts before I drafted this tonight, and making sure, because I was getting confused between planning and zoning, and I wanted to be clear of what the process is all about. And trust me, as someone who shepherded my children through 15 years of individualized education plans, if anybody knows the importance of process, it's somebody who's had special needs kids and knows you don't get services for them unless you follow the rules. So I'll be getting to those emails by Friday. I thank you, and I appreciate hearing from everyone.
Sorry, Mayor, you're muted.
So I am. Ms. Cummings, you had a comment.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you, Councilmember Smith. Thank you for going through all that information. Something I certainly wanted to share tonight, so I will leave that portion out of my comments for tonight. But I do think there are some very important comments that I do need to share. 2 weeks ago, on July 20th, Councilmember Kathleen Renz gave a very heartfelt statement to encourage unity and camaraderie amongst the council. My hope was that each of us would have been reflective and found a way to become unified. Unity does not mean that we all agree at all times, but we are respectful and compassionate to one another. One quality that Mrs. Lorenz highlighted was trust. On Thursday, July 23rd, that trust was broken and betrayed. An email was sent to council from a community member about a meeting that would be held in response to the upcoming One Normal Plaza PUD recommendation on the zoning update. The process has already been muddied as falsehoods and inaccurate bits of information have been fed to the residents. I have attempted through at least one media outlet to bring education and clarity to the truth. But since truth does not make good headlines, that information fell on deaf ears. Much like the fact that prior to the community meeting, Chris Coos and myself had responded to the residents' inquiry for council to attend. With our acknowledgement of attendance, it was clear that we were the only two people from the council to be in attendance. Our presence was deafened, and a third council member defiantly sat in a seat, refusing to leave, thus leaving myself and Mayor Coos to determine who should excuse themselves in order not to violate Open Meetings Act. I was taught that deference and respect is a must. So out of deference, I excused myself so that the mayor could take part in the meeting. This was heartbreaking. Not only am I a council member who wanted to hear the concerns of the residents, but I am also a member of this community who resides right behind the baby fold within the One Normal Plaza. Abraham Lincoln paraphrased Matthew 12:25 and Mark 3:24-25 when he stated in his 1858 House Divided speech, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. Division caused strife, and every action to not be a collective participant in the process causes strife." Certain behaviors work well for certain levels of government, but can yield an ineffective city council. The city council has a direct impact on services provided to the community. Their decisions impact the staff that provides those services and impacts the manner in which the community receives those services. Strife clouds the ability for us to be impactful as a collective decision-making body and leaves staff reeling about what to expect. While strife may be the cornerstone of politics, it is bad for governance. Oftentimes, strife is the easiest way one who has, as psychologists would call, savior complex or white knight syndrome to validate their ability to save the day. To the detriment of others, they will do all that is necessary to prove that the only one with the ability and capacity to fix a problem, provide a solution, and or remedy an ill. I ask that we do not govern with a savior complex or a white knight syndrome. While we do serve the public, it is to our benefit to work together to make our community better, stronger, vibrant, viable for a thriving, inclusive, diverse, and equitable community in the future. The greatest sorrow is that the community suffers. They continue to build a mistrust and a fear where there's not a cause to mistrust or fear. People lose faith and a passion for their community. Let's not let strife be the nail in the coffin for what the town of Normal can be. Let's continue to breathe life, new life, into the beautiful gem of a community we have. Let's be the statesmen to usher the town of Normal into the future. That's my time for this evening, and I thank all of you.
Thank you. I see no other people wishing to speak. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Oh, that changed quickly. Mr. Boyd and then Ms. Lorenz.
Thank you. Mr. Reese had emailed me the revenues from the movie theater over the past few months. And I just wanted to point this out to council because we are the ones that are ultimately accountable for how we choose to spend our constituents' money. So just over the past 3 months, just a quick revenue and expense summary for advertising alone. This excludes salaries or utilities or anything else. This is just advertising that was in our council packets over the past 3 months. We've spent $14,000, well, just over $14,000, $14,134 is what it shows. The revenue for those 3 months was $222. And what we were advertising was these online movies to download. 52 of those movies were downloaded. And this has been the information that was forwarded to me, and I believe I forwarded it to you guys, or maybe Miss Reese will. And the question we have to ask ourselves is this a reasonable use of the taxpayer money? Because we may want to be getting more than just the revenue from the online movies. Maybe it's to advertise that this theater exists. You know, I don't know that. I'm just pointing out that we've spent $14,000 to generate $222,000. So just wanted to point that out, and thank you, and wish everyone a good night.
Ms. Lorenz.
Mayor Coos, if I could jump in before Ms. Lorenz's comments. I asked Ms. Wisman to be on the call in the event questions came up about the Normal Theater. So if I could have Mayor's permission to allow Ms. Wisman to explain the process. Thank you, Beth.
Hi. Well, so you're not wrong. You know, certainly we have had a slow flow of it in the last few months at the Normal Theater. Once we were forced to close due to COVID, you know, we had some expenditures that were already in the budget from a previously signed contract for advertising. I would also remind you that when they first told us that we had to close, we thought we were closing for 30 days, 40 days, and then 60 days, and then 90 days. And so it was hard to know what that was going to look like. So we were faced with taking advantage of signing up for traditional annual advertising packages that we have always done and have served us very well over the years in our local expenditures, to be able to get the rates that we wanted to get, the best rates and the best positions that we wanted to get. So we did make that decision to move forward with some of those advertising dollars, but certainly not all of them. We did not renew for several, and we also adjusted some of our approaches. But the numbers that you're reading are not up to date or not as thorough as what I might be able to share. You know, it's a new industry model for the virtual screenings. We don't have any expenses for getting these movies. Essentially, everything that we sell is straight profit because we're not renting or paying the film distributors. It's a product that we're trying to sell. And it's a product that was, during the shelter-at-home days, starting to pick up some momentum. But of course, once we were allowed to leave our homes and the weather got nice, those opportunities certainly have been a little different. No one wants to sit at home watching movies when it's beautiful outside. But we've had 135 films that have been downloaded since we started in March. We've actually had more than that at this point. but we are working, as I mentioned, that new model with our distributors. A few of those companies have yet to report to us how many films have actually been downloaded. So it's probably a little bit higher than that, probably not drastically higher than that, but definitely a little bit higher than that. So our income was probably $650, $700. So no, it didn't make back the amount of money that we have spent in advertising, but our hands are also tied because we can't open the theater, and we're trying. You know, we're trying to sell a product that no other theater in town has access to. So we're doing our best, and you know, brands require maintenance, and that's part of branding and being consistent and reminding the community that we're here and providing a service that the theater does. You know, we can provide access to art house film, and that's what we're doing. It's just an online version now.
Thank you, Ms. Wisman. I just thought that information was relevant since we've spent a number of, we've responded to a number of questions regarding theater advertising, et cetera. And we, of course, the normal theater is a gem. A lot of people appreciate that. I know council does as well. And we just need to make sure to keep it relevant. And at this point, this is an unusual year, and we're getting by and trying to do our best.
We are. And, you know, part of having a successful marketing and advertising, you know, is being relevant when people are in situations like this. And when we come back, we open up again, we'll still have relevance, and hopefully people will remember us and still want to come back and see those films in person. I mean, we want to show the films in person for sure. We just can't right now.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing us the liberty to respond during concerns to that.
Thank you. Ms. Lorenz?
Yes, thank you. Couple things. I want to thank Ms. Smith for that really glowing recap of the Planning Commission process, and I commend you for really researching that and sharing it in public tonight. Hopefully those who are most affected by this area are listening and will listen to future correspondence from you and maybe others of us to direct them to the links for the Planning Commission process. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Ms. Cummings for your very passionate remarks and reminding us all of a dialogue that I tried to start 2 weeks ago about greater unity and greater productivity among of this body. So thank you again for raising that up. And so to that end, I just want to follow through on something that I said I was going to rededicate myself to when I spoke 2 weeks ago, and that is to hold ourselves accountable. And I want to call to mind the recent discussion out there. I don't know if it's discussion, but portrayal, I guess, out there about the Sugar Creek riparian work that is going on, that we approved in a unanimous decision, a 7-0 decision to do that work. And yet our colleague, Mr. Nord, is on social media telling it in a way that kind of undermines our decision from that night and pointing out things that maybe aren't the most accurate. So I just want to call to mind that we do need to make sure that we are factual. It is disingenuous to be anything but factual for our residents' sake. And I would just want us to be sure that we act in a way that is full of integrity and honesty, and both here at the meetings as well as in what we do and what we may post on social media. So just another reminder from what I started talking about 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Mr. McCarthy?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I would like to take a personal point of order since that was directed at me.
I will take it in order, Mr. Nord. Just hold that for a second. Mr. McCarthy was in the queue slightly ahead of you.
Remember to lower my hand this time. Thanks, Mayor. A unplanned thanks to my colleagues for their comment, Ms. Smith, for your very thorough explanation of the process and your passion to help explain and make sure that our citizens understand that the existing process is a very public, open, and transparent process, and it's designed to allow for all input in an impartial way, uninfluenced by political agendas or opposing forces or pro forces, but rather give everybody the opportunity in a transparent, open public format to give input. So thank you for taking the time to outline that in great detail, Ms. Cummings. Thank you also for your comments this evening. They do certainly hit home. A little different tone that I did want to talk about. Ironically, we end up talking about theater. You've heard me talk about the Children's Discovery Museum the last couple of times in the fundraisers, and hopefully some of my council counterparts got out to help with the fundraising efforts of the craft beer bingo, and the community did as well. I know it's a great cause. But to talk about the theater a little bit is, we're talking about COVID-19 and thanks to Ms. Swissman and her team for being creative to come up with a no cost, no expense to taxpayers way to try to generate revenue and try to generate interest for our theater. But there's something else that's going on generally in the movie theater business, and it's called Netflix and online streaming. And so COVID-19 was not the original assault on movie theaters. And if you look at the movie theater industry, particularly here in Normal, Illinois and surroundings and everywhere in the country, is that attendance is down, revenue is down, and the battle is for streaming media versus in-person theater. And I think Ms. Wissman's continuing to do a great job diversifying the movie selection into something that you just can't get at the big box movie theaters. And, that takes advertising dollars to get that word out. And I know Mr. Norton has brought up the advertising expense several times. That's why I was going to choose to speak on it. Ironically, it got brought up again tonight. But I read an article over this past weekend about how movie theaters are struggling not only from streaming services, but because of COVID-19. And so I wanted to say a heartfelt thanks to Ms. Wissman and the cultural arts folks for doing a great job diversifying our offerings and then coming up with a way to generate some revenue for us, because it is a gem. If council, if you haven't been to the Normal Theater yet, when we have a chance to reopen it, please do go. The popcorn and candy and pop is cheap, and the movies are great. You get to see some good old movies if you're that. You get to see some Oscar short festival stuff that comes here every year. But the opportunity to stream some of that into our living room is a unique thing. I hope we continue to look at that as a potential option, as an additional revenue source, as it goes back to a normal in-person operation. But I think that COVID-19 has certainly challenged businesses and government to be creative in how we deliver our services and how we think about the offerings we have. And just kudos to Ms. Wissman and her team. Thanks.
And Mr. North.
Thank you. In response to the Sugar Creek Facebook video that I did, I was not against the work that we were doing repairing the creek. What it was the ongoing maintenance policy that we have for that section of the creek, which is letting it grow tall and allowing the mosquitoes and all the problems that come along with that. So it was not the work repairing, it's the maintenance strategy that video related to. So I'm sorry if that was confusing. I will try and make those more clear in the future. But thank you for pointing it out because I didn't realize that it was that unclear.
Motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second. I thought maybe you wanted to stay a little longer, Mr. Preston. Please call the roll.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mayor Kus.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.